we return with a Monster Monday session 41, Season 2, the Cryptic Kabal, a heist in the making. The year is 65,008, the month of the White Wolf, still in September, but the day is now the 11th. We've moved forward, finally, around midday. But before we get into the current timeline, or the current point of our adventures here, let's wind the clock back for a moment and revisit what can only be described as a cluster, and I can't swear in the first 5 minutes of this video, so we're gonna see if we can make that. But I doubt it. But a cluster nonetheless. The party having managed to making landfall on an accursed island, would find themselves, after having a bit of a fun time with a twofer, as Wara found himself unfortunately indisposed, bothering Vicaret for a magical sword, refusing to go down into combat, and then, funny enough, never really having to use that magical sword in the combat of the session. Ironically enough. But we returned after May and Floresnap had a bit of their own adventure, coming back to basically awakening what looked to be a demigod rising, with a hive of spellgaunts and spiders and other insectoids amongst its horde. The party, returning to the main group, quickly realized things were about to go bad, and warned Captain Azurus, who, with a quick and calm speech, not being angry at all to his cohort or his crew, calmly executed a plan with glimmering eyes, and managed to even cast upon Wara, without True-Seeing, the ability of Augmented Friend. With that, Captain Azurus and the non-combatants would find themselves retreating to the ships to basically create a laydown of cannon fire that, unfortunately, would not at all be useful during the combat whatsoever, as the Spellgaunts weren't stupid. As the party found themselves quickly overwhelmed and attacked by the Spellgaunts, doing what they could to prep, Wara and May blocking up the first hole quite quickly with oozes and making sure the creatures could not advance, and then, not shortly after, finding themselves surrounded, in which Wara's rage would fully take hold, and May's creativity of oozing everything that they can would go into fruition. Floresnap doing all he could with a heavy sadism bonus to ensure that fighting God would not end as most animes would prove, as he would try to hold with the party and continuously take down the Spellgaunts, doing a massive amount of damage as the party went through. As Wara and May would do what they could, holding the line, Wara at one point even falling down deep into the tunnels and almost finding himself overwhelmed. Though, thankfully, due to his immense sleep ability, he managed to keep the Spellgaunts, for the most part, at bay. May, not really being able to do much against the creatures, just kept doing as much polymorphing and basically thinking as possible as they tried to stay away from being attacked. As well as, if I remember it, you were buffing for a good majority of the fight.
Yeah.
As the fight would continue on, though, Floresnap would take a daring plan, launching Wara out of the hole that he had fallen into, instead tossing himself within. As his sadism bonus would come to an end, realizing his death could be close, a quick and last-minute plan of yelling die in Abyssal, unfortunately, would lead to nothing, as the creature seemed to have some sort of protection against itself. Attempting to repeat after Floresnap, the creature quite quickly seemed to begin to master the language, as it began to speak strange words, though with little magic. As Wara and May would finally find themselves beginning to almost become overwhelmed, though Wara more by bodies he had to jump up in really a danger. May, really just looking for a way out and planning for something, began heading into the forest, singing the song to attract and hopefully bring the apes that the party had, not a session prior, recruited into a cult would be the kindest way of putting it. But as May would begin singing through the trees, attracting the apes and causing them to repeat the singing in a glorious choir, Wara continuously cutting down, tearing at any creature that would dare to pop its head up or awaken and move. Floresnap would make one last bet and convince a rock on the ceiling above to crack over the demigod-like Spellgaunt. And as the ground cracked and unfortunately did not shift, he found himself realizing that he had woken what truly was the horror of this island. Finding out that not only was this island the first seed of the Slotty, but also the first seed of the Black Slotty, immediately dawned as the 170 DC will save was all of the last of the sadism bonus that Floresnap would have, as that would dissipate with an 11 above to manage to save against it. Floresnap, realizing that this was a done deal and that the situation was going to go horribly, thankfully having a single one of the sleeping Spellgaunts fall beneath him due to Wara's positioning, managed to quickly launch himself out, grabbing a hold of Wara and shooting themselves towards the ship as the island began to awaken. May, in a fireball-like appearance, quickly realizing that things were getting bad as clouds were beginning to show up and not wanting to take the chance, decided to also turn back after hearing not hearing Floresnap's shouting, unfortunately. As the party, though, would regather onto the ship, we would see them watch as a titan of fighting would go down, with the first seed awakening as the island would begin to dive. The dragon golem apex monsters, I believe 4 of them, dropping onto the island, smashing into it, and the demigod still within her cave. The Godzilla smackdown began, and Floresnap and party realized quite quickly that Captain Azurus would be insane if he chose to stay here. With a quick concern of mutiny on his hands, Captain Azurus made the right decision in realizing while he had pacts with the rest of his crew, Floresnap and May may be too much to deal with at that time. And Crump, also seemingly going along with the idea, seemed to convince the captain, as the party would find themselves retreating from the island for now, with Captain Azurus swearing that his Moby Dick would be found and slain, as the party would turn their eyes towards the Crystal Giant lands to the south, following a river that Captain Azurus himself managed to find with his amazing sailing ability. The party would follow this up a steep incline towards the mountains, surprisingly a deep enough river and wide enough river to transport full ships even above you as you watch the trade ships flutter above without a single sign. Yet all 3 of the ships kind of delved underwater as you lot spent the last 6 days kind of going through the cool and icy waters of the southern pole. As we return to the party after 6 days of continuous travel, continuous concern of those knights returning after the party, or the first seed chasing the party, or name it really at this point, chasing the party. The party, nerves and stress on high, managed to make it to the city and let me pull up my notes here, Grunaga Beta, the capital of the Crystal Giant lands. As we return back on, as I said, the 11th of September, the party it's about midday as you lot find yourselves about half a mile out from the city itself. The ship's slightly dry docked onto the what looks to be kind of rocky edge of a beach that you all found, a little bit hidden behind some tree alcove that seems to cover you lot from the town as well as somewhat from the main river itself. At least if you weren't expecting to see a ship there. The trees, thankfully, immensely tall through these lands, and due to the extraordinary wilderness of this area, thankfully not many wanderers seem to come down this far. As you lot find yourselves kind of on outside the ship, as Vicarette can be heard hammering away with her children, working on the ship, building what looks to be her first little alcove of a forge inside of it, so she can work in her downtime on her personal items and materials. Captain Azurus kind of gathers you lot around as the crew of frost giants and trolls, those remaining, kind of come down as well. Captain Azurus begins to lay out the plans as he explains. Looking up at all of you, he kind of smiles and kind of congratulates you all immediately for your great deeds as he looks upon each of you, proud of what you've managed to do. A little tinge of annoyance as he gets to Floor Snap, but it seems to kind of make way quite quickly after that. As he continues on, looking to the crew, he speaks out, continuing on about how those who have fallen and those who have managed to stand and stay with us all deserve to be honored, and that in these times while we're in town, this will be the time to respect their views, their beliefs, drink to them, and tell their stories. The crew seemingly happy and taking this in stride, as many of them find themselves excused as Captain Azurus waves them off. The pay-up master standing at the end and handling the crew's pay, as many of them begin to disperse and head up towards the town itself. Captain Azurus, kind of as he watches the crew for a moment, though, looks down, then kind of steps down from his little, what looks to be a wooden stump that he was standing on a moment ago, walks over to the four of you, including Crump, who kind of stands off to the side, and looks at the lot of you and goes, "Alright, so, while you're in town, we are looking for a specific item. The Staff of the Apex. From what I know of it, and what I've gathered, it's on the creatures, or the leader of this territory's person. Or it'll be in his vault. One of the two. I don't know much else beyond that. I can tell you it's a gnarled looking tree staff looking of what you'd expect of a quarterstaff. There's not much that would really distinguish it, which is kind of what will catch your attention immediately upon a noble of such rank. You can imagine someone covered in pelts of creatures of great danger and power. A stick that stands out, being so mundane, will be quite easy to catch. It's roughly about 12 feet tall and around rough 350 pounds. When you see this, I don't want you to go and steal this immediately. I think our best option is to learn how this town works and figure out if we can't come to a simpler solution. We may be able to do some trade while we're here for some creatures or some materials, and I'd like to make sure all that's handled long before we plan to." As he looks over to Floor Snap and May and kind of stops for a second and goes, "Pillage the city." And looks back at the rest of the rest of you and kind of continues on and goes, "So, with that, I'll have your pay within the day, but for the time being, I hope that you'll enjoy yourselves in town while we get everything sorted. I'll keep our ships out of sight to make sure that nothing's following us for the time being, but I figure some short time is both owed, and it'll give you a chance to explore the town. Crump, of course, will be in charge of the lot of you, and I'm going to make that easy," as his eyes kind of glimmer a bright golden color. He looks about the four of you and goes, "Now," as he pulls out a heavy book and sets it on the ground and kind of flips over to what looks to be, reads the Crystal Crown lands and goes, "Do you have any questions about the territories? I've got some information from what's been published publicly, but that's about all I can fill in from here."
I just have one question, Captain.
He nods.
Where is the nearest tavern, and where is the nearest blacksmith?
He kind of chuckles at that and goes, There should be a tavern in town. I don't know what it's called. I don't list much for information on specific towns and shops and such, but don't expect much of a blacksmith. They specialize in druidic and rangers around here, so imagine more primitive items, nature-based, a lot of leather, not much metal gear. So, good place to buy more materials. Any shields you find or armors you find here will probably be along the lines of simpler design, more cursed, I'd expect.
Oi,
Okay, Captain. Well, since I'm not getting paid, I'm gonna go off and I'll start scouting the city.
You will,
oi, I
before
think
you go ahead.
I think the nearest blacksmith is on that ship over there. I point at the ship that Vicaret's on.
Vicaret seems to be hammering away at something as one of the frost giants is kind of pulling some lumber, or handing them some lumber, or handing her some lumber, and she kind of cuts away at it, hammers it down, fitting it to the proper joints. Um, Captain Azurus kind of nods at that and goes, "Actually, that's a fair point. Outside of the main mission of gathering information on this staff and where it's going, the general whereabouts, plans of this individual, where he puts it, any information we'll need to gather it as hopefully peacefully as possible. I assume he won't sell it, so don't even bother trying to ask at this point. He might take offense to that. I would like you lot to look for any rare materials, ingredients, or items of the sort. Not necessarily things for combat, but things that we can turn around and sell for a decent profit. I imagine...
Oi, like crystal giant skin. I say, completely unconcerned with the fact that I'm surrounded by giants. I will just announce out loud that, crystal giant skin. That sounds like it's rare.
He kind of nods at that and goes, "Actually, indeed, that would be what one of the materials I think would be good on the list. If possible, I wouldn't mind if we could find a few corpses outside of the city at some point. Oh, none that would be drawn back to us if we found them, but if they fall upon an accident where no one can see them and no one knows about your involvement, the materials would be very valuable. Also, any potential crew that might be of interest. I'll be doing my own recruiting probably while here, but if anybody catches your eye, well, if they catch the three of you lot's eyes, I think they'll be well worth the hiring."
Okay, well, I'll be off. I'll catch y'all later.
"No," he looks at Wara and goes, "you will stay with Crump, Floorsnap, and May. I will not have you lot separating off on your own this time. Last time that happened, we ended up getting kicked out of a city and ended up almost having to burn it down."
To be fair,
Okay,
we executed our plan
fine.
perfectly.
"You did, and I appreciate that. And Wara, unfortunately, gave some information that was not necessary to be out there at the time, and may have caused a little bit of a hiccup in our plans. I'd rather ensure we stay honest and work as a crew in this situation. Wara, where you are lacking in your understanding of the world, Floorsnap lacks in any sort of kindness. Use those strengths of each other's to rely on one another."
I'm very kind. I let the peasants live all the time.
"It's not the peasants that's the problem."
Oh, yeah, and then there was that one time that he let that ship go free. I mean, that didn't seem to want to be steered around all hither and thither like by those fellows what were not washing themselves and
Yes,
or taking care of the ship.
I agree. Still, the concept of kindness seems to be a little bit different amongst our elders. And I respectfully ask that you rely a bit on Wara's sense of self and innocence on that situation. A little bit. But, I digress. Do try to stay alive, explore, learn some things, work with each other. And whatever you do, do not let it come back to bite us in the ass.
Yeah. And then for your knowledge before we disembark, the entire time that I've been outside of my handy haversack, I have been instead of being a hag fire eladrin hybrid, I've been just a like a primitive elf. or
Okay.
like the least primitive elf I can think of.
Well, I was gonna say that would be basically what you saw Rolleman, so you look more like half Goliath, half elf at this point. But yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't actually change my looks that much.
Well, I mean that's
Just
true.
'cause-
You just kind of basically, if you're just your hair would dye or brownish, and you have a bit more tan to you.
Yeah, that, like that's about it. And
Yep.
I might be slightly more fit because
Yeah.
I don't know what Rolleman's physical stats were, but
He was very fit because he was a physical tank, and I think his strength was somewhere near 20. So like I think you'd be like, plus being Goliath, you're gonna grow a few inches. Your body muscles are gonna grow a bit more. So yeah, you look more Amazonian now compared to your more kinder and gentler features.
yeah. So I'm right now I'm Rolla Woman.
You know what? I like that. I'm going to use that on Saturday at some point when they hear about the rumors of Rollman's sister popping up.
Yeah.
I love that.
He's like Rollman. It's like, I have a sister?
All right. And she's magically powerful. But now, as Captain Azurus looks amongst you lot, he goes, "If you need anything, I will leave Crump the book from the Collective of Pyrus just in case, as well as a list of general things I'm looking for in crew members and materials if you have questions. Honestly, though, if you think it's valuable, we probably could use it. And if you can get for a fair price, or at least actually a good price, then I'd actually prefer to get as much as we can."
Alrighty. And just so we're clear,
Mm-hmm.
we can brag about our recent exploits as long as, and I look at Wara, then I look back at the captain, we do not tell them that it was on an island, or where the island was, or anything about the slot.
No, you can. Well, yes, but let's tell people about them as if we're fans of theirs, not that we are them, because right now we are next to a nation that is allied to Reganutham, who we've kind of caused a bit of a burn bridge with. So I'd rather keep us a little bit anonymous until we're prepared to use that influence. He
I
looks
look at Floor Snap.
yeah, so does Captain Azurus as he turns. He goes,
I'll just avoid saying anything.
"No,
I'm gonna
no,
very gingerly poke Floor Snap,
Mhm.
and Floor Snap, if you accept the polymorph, you will look like how you would look if you were the same species as, I don't know, fucking James.
you're a snowbeard with black hair. You are an albino dude, or basically white with bright blue eyes and black hair, and you are also now 5 foot tall."
And I have an
Well, there
insanely
go
long
my
beard.
plans for
Yes.
the shield.
And I look at Wara, whom this has come up before.
Mhm.
May sees Wara as just another frost giant, and I don't mean
Mhm.
like, oh yes, that's Wara the frost giant. I mean, if Azurus doesn't point out that you're Wara, or you are not speaking, May could not tell you the difference between you and any other frost giant. She actually legitimately assumes that any one of the frost giants on the ship could be you at any given time. Because of the way your thing works.
Here, as you look over at Wara, seeing him kind of slightly disguised, Captain Azurus kind of seeing the change of Floor Snap goes, "That's what I meant, Floor Snap. No, it's no offense. It's just you are such a distinguished individual. I figured your appearance would be easily recognizable amongst the crowds."
Yeah, life's but a dream, Captain. You'll be fine.
He nods at that.
Like, Floorsnap's like taking like a weird personality turn, like during the week of like Set to Sea. Just been very like morose and like withdrawn. And just certain revelations weighing heavy on the mind.
Understandable.
The first 3 days were really stressful because he was all cranky and shit like that. And then like when the realization that he wasn't gonna get a sadism hit anytime soon finally came over him. He's basically a guy without caffeine right now. The crankiness has subsided, but he's just not sure he wants to be here anymore.
It's also just, getting, like, revealed, like, some of the ultimate truths of the universe. It's a fucking
Yeah.
rough time.
Florstep's still wrestling with the truth of the universe. It's still weighs on his mind as he get the 1,000-yard stare.
Yeah, he, like, deliberately not said anything to anyone. So it's like one of the, like, you're not kind at all. It's like, I haven't told you things that would unravel your perception of the world. I'm the kindest man. So help me.
But as you look over at Wara, Captain Azur's kind of speaks up and goes, I think Wara should be fine. He, seems to be able to walk wherever he wishes, and people don't seem to recognize him unless they know him.
Well, yeah, he's I just gestured at him as if it's self-explanatory.
He nods.
He's like a frost giant, like any of them. Like, I know. Like, I'm good at faces normally, but his seems to change. Like, if I look away from him, I turn around, and I turn back, different frost giant.
Captain Azur's kind of nods at that and goes, I don't think it's for our time to collect on finding out what that is about. Wara, I imagine you'll tell us in good time.
The person who could answer that is Vicaret, and she doesn't give enough of a flying fuck.
Mm-hmm.
What are you talking about? I don't care. Get the fuck away from me. I've got my spade made.
But
yeah.
Captain, go ahead.
No, I just give 2 thumbs up and get ready to disembark.
All right. As Captain Azurus gives you a final nod amongst the 4 of you, and goes, if you need anything else, I'll be here, watching out for those clouds to make sure we're not being followed.
Oh, I pause, I spin, and I look at, I lock eyes dramatically with fucking Trump, and then I poke him, and he's a troll again. He said he liked it.
Because he grows like 6 feet tall. This is the kindest thing you could do to an individual. There you go.
He grows many feet, and he becomes fucking jacked without having to do anything.
Alright, as you see the transformation of Crump right before your eyes, he kind of nods at that, smiles, a very toothy grin, as he kind of looks about, kind of looks to the captain, gives a nod as he takes the book, and the lot of you begin to head towards town.
Oh, I just remembered something.
Mm-hmm.
I pull out my Ironheart Merchant Company badge, and I put it on me.
Oh, yes. Please tell me.
The revenge.
Oh,
The revenge.
Technically.
We have a Snowbeard whom I specifically referenced as looking vaguely similar to James. Like, basically,
Just his hair's dyed black, yeah. Alright.
Basically like a distant, like a relative of James, who is also Floor Snap at the same time.
I got you. Alright, this is gonna be interesting. Okay, as you pull it out, the badge, kind of putting it on yourself with, as you kind of smile, heading off into the town. As you head through the woods. Go ahead.
I'm gonna make sure Floor Snap sees me do it, because he has one as well.
Just thumb my beard for a moment, think about it. It was finally pep up just a little bit, and it's that's gonna be amusing. And I fish it out of my wizardly robes and just kind of don it as well.
As you put it on, as a lot of you kind of begin to head towards town, kind of following along the riverbank as you do through the woods, you hear the occasional sounds of arrows getting, bows thrumming and arrows kind of landing into the ground as they thump nearby. A couple of hunters that look to be of crystal giant descent, their skin glimmering as they kind of walk by. Their height almost matching, in appearance almost matching exactly to a frost giant, but instead having almost translucent skin and there, what you can see is like veins. You can actually see the glimmering of the veins in the crystal as it seems to shimmer both a red and blue line that follows the body through. Though thankfully the skeleton seems to give a cloudedness to some of the organs, almost diluting it, hiding it from the from others' appearance. But as the giants kind of pass by, a very thick wool kind of wrapped around them, smiling and waving as they do, not even really taking any note of you lot as they head down the mountain.
What's the temperature like?
Roughly it is about 40 degrees with a wind chill of about 35, and it is currently lightly raining, but due to the thick tree canvas above your head and the thick pines all around you, thankfully the rain is not really hitting you lot.
40 degrees Celsius or Fahrenheit?
Fahrenheit. I do not understand Celsius because I'm American.
40 degrees Fahrenheit Celsius would be fucked. It's like
How about
120.
How about 40 degrees Kelvin?
Dude, I don't do math. I haven't done Kelvin since I was in college. Nope.
They fucking die.
Yeah. But no, as the wind is a little bit brisk, it's not too strong. I mean, it's a little bit heavier near the river as you're basically walking up a nice wind tunnel that kind of blows out towards the ocean down from the mountain. So you're getting a chillier wind as you're walking up. But it's not terrible. The ground seems to be even, not frosty. There's a thick bit of vegetation amongst the ground, but thankfully most of the roots seem to be very deep, not kind of clouding up the path. As you walk through, seeing a couple of burrows here and there next to the trees where small game animals have kind of found their homes. As you continue walking through, as you finally come across the village, opens up into what looks to be a plateau or a two-leveled plateau into a mountain. A massive, almost. Here, give me a second. There we go. Massive doors dominating what looks to be the mountain peak that kind of peaks up to the skies, vanishing beyond the clouds. The town itself seems to be separated almost completely with these two kind of stagnant plateaus. A lower plateau where you see a couple of businesses, what looks to be a large very clearly an inn of some sort, as it's the only building big and it looks to have multiple windows in it, to clearly kind of giving an indication of some sort of building to allow a lot of people there. The upper one, though, kind of seems to be more dominated by smaller houses, and what looks to be, from even here, you can see the glimmer of metal as guards seem to kind of walk around the outer edge of the upper plateau. It's about 100 feet up a pretty thick staircase that seems to be about almost 10 feet in height itself for each step. 5 feet in height for each step. As the village itself, many of the buildings look to be heavy in timber, very cozy in their design, most of it being small wooden shacks. A few crystal giants seem to be walking amongst the town as you head up, finding the staircase and making a rough climb of it for some who are a little shorter than others.
I steal a carpet on the way, like a log, and just use that as a little flying carpet and just sit on it.
You grab one of the frost giants, taking their pay of in goods of what looks to be a small piece of cloth. You grab it, kind of getting yourself stood on it. It begins to float as you cast your telekinesis on it. As you now look like a little genie dwarf floating around like Mr. Popo going around DBZ. All right.
Yeah, I feel
Uncle, may I join you?
Okay.
Why are you,
next, Uncle?
As you kind of sit down on the cloth, you feel yourself kind of almost, it's not a comfortable ride, but you feel yourself kind of moved about almost jerkily, though it looks more smoothly from afar.
Basically, it's little traces of my telekinesis to make my beard billow in a very dramatic and impressive fashion.
I love this for multiple reasons. One, because it stands out like crazy, so people are going to be looking at us. Two, what the crystal giants are seeing is a frost giant calling a snowbeard uncle, and then associating this fucking circus with...
You assume they see a frost giant.
Yeah, you assume they see a frost giant. What you're seeing is that, yeah, so, yeah. It kind of gives an interesting perspective. It totally does. As you lot continue, though, Crump kind of following along as he kind of lifts himself up with surprising agility and ease due to his now immense strength, kind of pulling himself up, pushing up the stairs as he follows along, offering to help May up with each step.
Do like a little vaudevillian thing where like I like pushed Trump back like a couple of times where he thinks there's more steps than there are.
That's messed up. Good.
I also appreciate it because Crump is also now a large creature, so the stairs are actually probably a lot easier for him.
Yes. As a lot of you though kind of start heading up, as each of them, or as you climb the stairs, finding your way up. As you get closer to what looks to be kind of not a gateway, but two wooden posts that seem to mark the entrance to the village. Two crystal giants kind of seem to stand at the entrance. One seemingly just covered in a blue moss, carrying a staff with what looks to be a very large boar skull with antlers sticking out of it, kind of at the head of it. The other looking to be a very clean cut leather gear, a couple of spikes here and there made of jagged bone, with a short bow that he has slightly drawn, as well as a long bow on his back. And you're pretty sure both these individuals are actually surprisingly capable as they look about. Both of them kind of waiting and watching you lot as you kind of make it up the final step.
Hello, can I ask you a question?
The ranger-looking fellow kind of lets the bow loose a little bit more, kind of lets more slack into the bow as he looks up and goes, "Of course, you speak the common tongue. You're of course welcome here."
Thank you. I myself am looking for a tavern and a place to purchase better armor. Where would you suggest?
Bluey's Rest and Brick Guild is probably your best bet. Most adventurers and those who want to rent houses around here typically end up going through her. For shields, he kind of like rubs his chin a bit. There's a fella who runs a mining company not too far from here. He's got a shop in town on the upper floor. I'll post it for you. The place is called Sunnyside Up Mining Co. Mostly specializes in metalwork, but they've got a couple of artisans on staff that might be able to help you out and sell you something.
I too have a question. Your lands and your people are known as great hunters.
Mm-hmm.
I can't help but notice that I'm not familiar with the creatures that are part of your equipment, the staff, and the bow itself. Can you regale us? How did you come by them? Are they things you hunted yourself?
The druid kind of smiles at you and looks up and goes, with a bit more wizened words as you kind of catch. He's not old. Looks to be about middle-aged, roughly. A little bit of a longer kind of, or rather lacking in a beard, surprisingly, kind of almost kind of giving away a lack of age in that perspective. He seems to try to be acting almost older as he speaks, but he goes, "Well, I found this boar near, well," kind of thinks for a second, "east of the capital of the Regan Utham's territories of Grim Purser's last hold. There were a few creatures that had broken off from that giant Leitningborg thing that dominates the lands there. I assumed it was his offspring, and managed with a small hunting party to corner a few of them, and I managed to land the last blow on the creature, so now I keep its skull as a prize, and it's mostly my focus amongst my capabilities. A gift from my younger days."
Awesome. Is it to the killer goes the spoils in your culture? I'm confess, we're here on business, but also tourism. Your great nation sparks much interest the world over.
He nods and goes, "Oh, good."
I nod in the background,
Mm-hmm.
and like when Floor Snap says business, I will deliberately just kind of display the Ironheart Merchant Company logo a little bit more.
Yeah, kind of push your chest forward a little bit more, adjust it as you're kind of like looking at them to get their attention towards it.
Yeah.
Okay. As you kind of do this, you see the ranger's eyes glance towards you, and seems to kind of almost immediately as he sees it, he kind of pulls the arrow off and puts it away as he sets the bow on his hip. The druid keeps speaking or continues speaking and goes, "Oh, yes. In our culture, the both the one who kills it and the one who manages to add most to the hunt will take the top of the spoils." The killing blow is typically a first, and those who are recognized by all the hunters amongst that party are usually given the second right of choice of items and materials. The rest then divvied up amongst the crew and anything that is amongst the hunting party, and anything that is not given is then taken back, and either they're given as tribute or sold.
Fascinating. And I hate to be crass, but I feel a deep need to have respect for the fallen. How do you, for those that don't make the great hunt, what befalls them and their possessions and their earthly relations?
He nods at that as he hear it from that, and kind of takes a second, and as he looks it over to the other frost crystal giant. Sorry, I was reading something there. And he then looks back at you and goes, "We do not have burial privileges or rights. We look at the body in the sense that once you are dead, you are a vessel of the nature itself. Creatures will eat you. Beasts will nest in you, or your body will eventually become part of the environment and plants will sprout from you. We do not hunt our own, but other cultures see that as a recognizable feature. I imagine many of those here would be disturbed to see one of our kin's skin or bodies used, but I cannot say you would be punished for it."
Oh, it's passing curiosity. My clan has an interesting thing that we do as well. We plant trees in the bodies of our fallen.
He nods and he goes, "I did not know that the Frostbusters were tree planters. Interesting."
Oh, I'm an offshoot of the family, and you know how oddities go in isolated sort of nation states.
"You are the one. You're the Frostbark we are told to expect. You're here on pilgrimage."
Yes. Yes. We are. I just nod after saying that.
He looks at you and goes,
And-
"We've been expecting you. We were told that you were being sent to find a Frostbuster to serve as the next clan heir for the grandsire of the Frostbusters. We're happy to have you here. We thought you'd be with that James fellow of the Ironheart Merchant Company saying your symbol, but I assume he must have been chosen as not the heir."
It's
He's
clan
away on-
business. I don't mean to be rude, especially after you've been so forthcoming with things. It's just simply rumors spread, things become out of place very quickly. I'm sure you understand.
He
The
nods.
druids value their secrecy a great deal.
He nods and goes, "Of course, and I mean, given all the recent rumors of another civil war popping up in your homelands, I imagine anything you say may be a problem. Of course, you're welcome into the territories. If you need anything, please just mention you're a member of the Frostbark clan. We were expecting you to arrive in a few months, not now, but I'm happy to have you here. I'll let the Pulpin himself know that you're in town. Of course, I imagine you want a day after the travels and to rest and take a moment to enjoy the town in itself."
Make sure that that it's kept relatively on the hush hush right now. We've heard word that well, we encountered some ships on the way over. We managed to parlay with them. But there was some kind of dramatic situation what happened out in the waters. You see, Uh, apparently, I look left, I look right, I lean in. Apparently, there was a fight with the Cryptic Cabal and another group called the Crew of the Painted Lady. We're not exactly sure of the details. We don't think they're coming to this area, but they are, they're within a week's sailing time of this location. We're not sure where they are, but they might have even been killed. We're not sure though.
He
We were
nods.
sent ahead in order to head anything off. Just don't let them know that we're here, because we don't want to fight.
He nods. He nods. So you're here in incognito. I understand. I must admit, I must let our King Pulpin know that we've had visitors
That's
from the
fine.
Ironheart Merchant Company. But, I
That's
mean,
fine.
as far as that
You know,
goes, that
it-
won't require an audience. You'll be welcome to explore the town as willingly.
Absolutely. Just right now, we are just representatives of the Ironheart Merchant Company here on minor business.
He nods and goes,
That's
okay.
and your king can know the full details. We're fine with that. It's everyone else what needs not know.
He nods and goes, good to know. Okay. And would you mind while you're in town, if you while you explore things, if you have a moment, maybe later tonight, could you send me a full report of what you lot saw with these Red Lady pirates? We had heard rumors about them being in the waters, but last we had heard they'd taken out 2 of the man-o'-wars heading back to shore leave in King's End and got wiped out. I imagine. You've got with us your frost giant friend there. He looks like he's probably more familiar with King's End than himself, so he might be able to tell you about what happened.
Oi, we can definitely do that. We'll put together a report. I look towards our troll companion and say, and I nod at him because he's fucking Crump. He can write a tale that'll, meander drunkenly, never arrive at its destination, but enthrall everyone who reads it.
You're not wrong. Actually, in fact, let me roll something real quick. As you look over and see him already with a piece of papyrus out, beginning to fill out a very clearly forged document with the Ironheart Merchant Company logo design put down at the very bottom as he's mimicking the logo from your guys' vest.
Yeah.
Crump, do better.
He kind of nods and goes, yes, Crump kind of speaks up and leans forward and goes, I'll get a report to you by the night. James of the Ironheart Merchant Company will be on his way here in a month, and we expect to have this report fully for him as well. So I'll make sure you get an exact copy so you'll know it's fully official. As he kind of gives a bow to that. The guard eats it up almost immediately, as I can't roll higher. So, nods and this and kind of seems almost fully invested in the tale as he looks over this.
Yeah.
Give me a second to double check your answer, your question there, Floor Snap. One moment, because I do not recall off the top of my head if I actually ever named this individual or not.
I thought it was. I honestly had gotten the name of it mixed up with the name of the town.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, no.
So I realized that after a second, I was like, oh, wait a minute. No, that's the town name. Oops.
Nope, they're just called the First Seeds. Yep. Closest thing you'd have is what the name of, or what the clans are called as a hierarchy as a closest clue, but yeah, you would not, unfortunately.
Makes sense. I imagine also the closest thing to a name is in Slotty, so that would be not a great move.
Nope, but this is roughly the closest thing you'd have. As you kind of take a second with that, to answer your question on that, Wara, you heard that as they mentioned that they think you are a frost giant from King's End. Because the guard literally actually mentioned, like, pointing to you and said he would look like the Frost that you would be able to tell the story of what happened to those two warships. So, but as Crump says this, the guy kind of nods at this whole thing, kind of looks over to Floorsnap and goes, "Well, please, enjoy the town while you're here. If you need anything, ask any of the local merchants. We're always happy to help out tourists and travelers, especially if it means we may have a chance at new business."
I feign chewing my lip for a moment and say, I so hate to impose. Is there any way that hey, fuck, what is the name of the staff again?
The staff of the Apex.
The staff of the Apex is known the world over. Is there any way we could audience or see its splendor? You understand dwarves with the idea of viewing magic and craftsmanship, that sort of thing. It would be tremendous to be able to behold it with our own eyes before I take the long winter.
Yeah, looks at you for a second. Give me a diplomacy check, yeah.
Nudge. I'm gonna because this is along with the goals of the crew and therefore Azurus. I am going to nudge
Floorsnap?
Crump.
Oh, Crump. Okay. Crump is going to speak up. Give me a second.
Oh, Discord is apparently being very slow on. I got a 37 for the diplomacy.
Oh, shit. Well, you may not need the help. Actually, in fact, if I roll diplomacy, I'll screw you. So, because I get a -10 to that.
Okay, please don't.
Yeah, Crump not good at telling people the truth, turns out. So, as Crump looks at this and begins to again write up, updating the document and kind of begins to write up a trade information and goes, as you say this, Floorsnap, the gentleman kind of nods at that, looks over as Crump kind of holds out the paper. I'm going to have him roll for that because I'd rather forgery that just to make that an easy. And almost included with your words, as you see the notarized document, he kind of looks up, or the guard looks up and goes, "Oh, yes, I can take this to... Oh, we lost you for a sec? No worries.
Yeah.
Just updating that Crump basically quickly was updated the document he was already filling out with a notarized copy of a request, basically, as also with a trade deal underneath. As he kind of pushes this forward as you make this request, the guard kind of nods and goes, I can do that. We'll have Pulpin, I'll let King Pulpin know himself. He kind of looks at the document and goes, trade. It says you'll hand 20% dealings on the next visit in our favor, and you'll pay double tax. I mean, King Pulpin won't turn that down for an offer. Yes, I see no reason why a company such as the Ironheart Merchant Company couldn't do something of a similar sort. Yeah, I think this would be fantastic. Let me let King Pulpin know about this and see what he'll say. If you're staying at the inn, I'll send a courier your way.
Fantastic. We very much look forward to minimal dealings between our two factions.
He nods, goes, and enjoy yourself while you're in town. If you have any interest in taking on any of the hunts, they're posted in the tavern itself. We like to keep it open for anybody who likes to visit, which we don't get many who come through.
Yeah, Floorsnap just subconsciously flexes his fingers and says, "Oh, game. I may partake."
As you kind of begin to use your telekinesis to move forward, Crump and May kind of following behind quite quickly as Crump hands over the document to the guard and continues walking with you a lot. Crump kind of smiles and goes, "All right, I think we've managed to get the Ironheart Merchant Company into a interesting situation. We're going to need a merchant company to back us here soon, though. That's only going to hold up so long."
It'll be all right.
Forge us a mercantile ship or something, and then have us be trading with them as some kind of subsidiary, maybe.
We could go and
Right.
find a contact as well and just basically pay someone to hawk all of our goods. My father does it all the
Why?
time.
Yeah, do that. I don't really care about gold.
He nods.
Why?
Life's but a dream, little crumb.
Lee looks down at his tall stature and then looks over at you with a like raised eyebrow as you like continue walking through the lower plateau.
Don't give me that foot. You're 5'3" at the best.
As you continue into town, passing through, you do see the lower end of the town does have an open market that's pretty large. The distinguishing sign in both giant and in common of Kashi's Flowery Market Square, which I will write down, as I know Wara likes to have these names for himself. The what looks to be a place called the Bita's Best Crafts kind of corners one of the portions of the market. A rather large-looking building that seems to almost house, even from this distance, looks like a walrus in the window that seems to be moving about, though it's hard to tell. The market, though, the rest of it seems to be filled with a couple of stalls, what looks to be a carrot salesman, or what you realize is a white carrot salesman, selling a thing called a scarret. And what look at this almost albino-looking carrot that smells very sweet, and they have some jam set to the side with it. Another that seems to be selling a thing called Alexander's. Another selling Good King Henry, though whoever this Henry was, you're not familiar with. And lastly, the Salsify that is also being sold. Amongst the market square seems to be a couple of different crystal jets kind of standing about as they kind of hawk their goods at a couple of other travelers. To the other side of the town is you do see on this plateau finally is the guild itself, a massive building with what looks to be a tall tower that almost is as tall as to the second story of this town. It seems to house a lot of the almost open windows where you can see clearly even from here bunks and people sleeping in them, as the windows seem to be from almost floor to ceiling in each of the rooms. A large backing to it that seems to have even more rooms to it, but otherwise not much else kind of that catches your attention to this portion of it, or this portion of the town, other than, of course, the staircase going up to the next level of the plateau.
It's excruciatingly slow going because every like new thing that's on the street, which is basically everything for Floor Snap, just like stops and buys one to like eat.
All right, well, hey, you know what? Give me 4 fortitude saves. Let's see how you do.
I
Mm-hmm.
also am tempted. Yeah, I'm gonna do it. What's Roloman's constitution?
Oh god, that's a good question. Give me a second. I gotta go look that up.
I need his strength, his dex, and his con.
Let me see.
I guess I don't know what dwarf you've turned me into actually, so I don't know what the fuck.
You would be basically the same as Eider. You can pretty much almost use Eider stuff for like general goods. For stats, since it was specifically James, you're gonna hate this.
Oh, I'm gonna get
I'm
fucked
sorry.
on this one. Luckily, it's only my
Yeah.
physical stats.
Which is
Yeah.
some of his worst stats. So
No!
Roloman's fortitude is a plus 14. His strength is a 16. Dex is a 17, and con is a 14.
Okay, so 6. His dex is a 14.
Here, I can do that again. So strength is 16, Dex is 17, and con is 14.
Okay, so my
And then-
constitution doesn't change.
And then fortitude would be
And that
14.
Okay,
Mhm.
cool.
My fucking con goes down from.
And for James, it probably does. Well, this one's easy. Strength, con, and Dex are all 14. And fortitude is an 11.
I don't
I'm
adopt
also
his
eating
fortitude.
food, so
Yep.
Yeah. I just get it as like modifier, but I keep my like base bonuses and everything. I don't suppose it counts as a poison because like technically we get like the dwarven bonus.
It is not poisonous. It's just whether or not how the flavor responds. All right. I'm stuck at this pace as I'm riding on the rug. It's true. As Wara kind of just sits back, riding alongside. Crump kind of seems to lean, kind of pay for each of these. Not really wanting to try any of the food, but he'll pay for the coin to watch you two try and eat this.
Yeah. They
And-
use Wara as a garbage disposal.
Yep.
I do eat horrible things all the time, so
No, yeah. So, starting with the first one, for Floor Snap and May, it is it's a white carrot. It's translucent and almost looks, surprisingly, kind of like almost, a caterpillar, like in texture, as appearance, just more clear and, white. As you take a bite out of this, it tastes like a sweet carrot. Like, actually really sweet. Like you could put this in a jam. You recognize this as, Scarret. For those who don't know how it's spelled. And if you're wondering, I went on a binge of English random plants that no one eats. So, you're going to learn a lot here. But neither of you feel sick from it as you kind of get the taste out of it. Continuing through as Floor Snap, this does not agree with your stomach. As you try some of the Alexanders, it smells amazing. It's very aromatic. It's very strong and savory in scent. But as you take a bite out of it, it's like pepper eating straight pepper from a jar. Like salt and pepper for reference. It is not. It tastes horrible, and immediately as you spit it out, the salesman kind of seems to laugh at you. So May seems completely unbothered by the material. Good.
Just gotta look at the salesman and say, you probably ought to leave that one on the tree.
She looks over at you. He smiles. You see this young crystal giant half breed with half frost giant. Kind of looks at you and goes, "Yeah, but then the wife couldn't grow anything else."
Oh, good luck.
He nods and goes, "Don't worry. She cooks better than she plants."
Oh, thank Christ.
As you pass by, Crump kind of smiling and nodding. That.
I was about to tell you, you might want to start enlisting as an alchemist. You have a bright future as a poisoner ahead of you.
You kind of mention this. He kind of smiles at that and nods and goes, "Actually, funny you mention that. She was a poison craftsman in Dragon's Crown for a few years."
Yeah, fascinating. I'm kind of a eclectic interest. Would you mind if we were introduced? Not
No.
just out of interest.
He nods and he goes, "My name's Goldberg. No surname around here in Crystal Giant culture. And as far as it goes, I'm guessing you're an Ironheart Merchant Company. You look a lot like that James fella that runs it, although with dyed hair."
Distant third, second cousin. But close enough to be considered for the position.
"Oh,
Just
hey."
on glad-handing sort of tradesman business.
He nods. He goes, "Yeah, my wife's royal on her father's side. Like 3 cousins removed from Regan Utham, I believe."
oh,
You get
nice.
He nods and goes, "None of the perks, all the annoyances. No."
it. Yes, 6 assassinations this week.
Jesus. Not that bad of an annoyance over here. Just she can't cook where the damn she wasn't raised to. Well, originally, when I first taught her, to be fair. Now it's much better. Tell you, once you teach a poison crafter how to cook, they seem to pick it up quite quick, but the first few recipes, I watched a stew walk away from my plate. That was a new experience.
I just think to myself for a moment and just choose. It takes a visible effort to not disclose ancient, slotty, disgusting lore about the fucking living stews that I've made.
And when he mentions the stew getting up and walking away as a bad thing, there's a moment where I get a look on my face that's like, that's a bad thing?
Just have a moment with May
Yeah,
cross
we
gazes and be
need to beat to death routinely.
God do it. Oh, War, you don't have type, mate. You can talk if you'd like. I know if your mouth's hurting too much from the bridge, you're good. But War imagines the ship that Floor Snap talked to. Oh God. Yes, please don't turn this man into a amalgamation of Toad. That would be an interesting experience to watch. But no, as he like leans down, smiles at you, he leans down to speak to you, specifically, and as he does, he goes, "Now, my advice, this stuff works great if you add it to anything that tastes terrible, but it does not cover the after effect. I learned that one the hard way." As he leans back up.
Understood. Thank you. I'll keep that advice in mind. Yeah, sometimes, trail rations.
Trail rations, terrible home cooking, poisoners. It'll cover up anything.
You must be terrified when you have an argument.
I haven't argued with my wife once in our lives.
Smart man.
Yep. I value my life too much. And, to be honest, I don't think she would poison me with her cooking, because that would be the easy part. I feel she'd do it with the lard soap we have.
I feel like that would burn.
Well, I do too, and that's what I'm afraid of.
I'm terrible with names. Can you remind me one more time what this guy's name is?
Goldberg.
Goldberg. Well, Goldberg, it was immensely pleasurable meeting you. Unfortunately, we must make way.
No, it's...
Hopefully we'll see you again before we leave the town.
Hey, if you're looking to set up any dealings with the Ironheart Merchant Company and mine little stand, I'd love to sell you goods.
Fantastic. We'll get you an immensely great rate.
He nods.
Aye.
He nods along with it.
Crump, give him the business card.
Crump just looks at you and sighs. Man, my rolls today are not great. Jesus Christ.
That's okay. It's still a pretty high roll, so.
That's
or a
true.
high bonus.
As Crump hands him the business card, as he quickly writes one up, Goldberg kind of looks at you and nods as he reads it over and goes, "Lord Hamburger of the Clan Frostbark." All right. He nods at that and goes, "And I appreciate your business," as he kind of takes the card and waves you off.
Just gotta give like a flourish and a bow and says, "Yes, my clan, the Hamburglers, are of great social notoriety."
He nods at that.
I nod.
Okay, goes, "Oh, interesting. All right. Well, if you need anything in town, feel free to stop by."
It'll be time. And then I give my best like wizardly billowing as I ride my fucking magic carpet out.
Like George Washington crossing the Delaware, 1 foot slightly up on the magic carpet as it raises a little platform in the air for him to stand on. As you continue going on, the frost giant Tawara still behind you, as Crump and May follow quite shortly behind that. As Wara returns back from spacing out, as the like a kid sitting next to his uncle who's trying to get a good deal, did not at all have an interest in the situation.
More like sitting next to an uncle trying to hit on every single woman there, failing.
Hey, listen, you don't have to call me out for that, alright? I did it once, okay? I thought it would get me. I thought using my nephews would help me. Another story for another time. As you lot though continue past, tasting up trying the Good King Henry plant. It's almost like a mix of onion and spinach all in one. It's quite tasty as the salesman kind of leans over and smiles as he calls it Good King O'Garing, and kind of hands it to you, freshly washed, and a couple of the leaves kind of broken off and set to the side. As you kind of take a bite out of it, both of you, it's got a sweet, yet kind of tangy and slightly oniony taste, is the only way to describe it. As he looks on and kind of watches you lot pass by. And then lastly, with the Salsify, just double checking rolls here. Man, Jesus, you really have a taste for just any cuisine. Jesus, 24.
Yeah, I have a horrible monster stomach, so
It's fair. As you try the plant, it's very sweet. A very leafy plant overall, and seems to have a bit of a darker color, as if it's been aged outside a bit. But otherwise, it's almost like sugar in its flavoring. As he kind of, or as the salesman hands it over to you. Mhm.
Oh, I forgot to mention this. Because we were specifically told that James and his crew were going to be stepping by here, every time I eat one of these things and finish it off, I'll pause for a moment, think, nod, and say, "Boy, one of my cousins is coming through here. I think he'd like this. Make sure you let him know."
All right. Okay. As you kind of continue mentioning that,
I'll
as
give
you
them a wink and try and hint that they should, give him the stronger stuff.
give me a diplomacy check, man. Let's see what you can do.
Okay. I'm not good at diplomacy, but
It's all right. That's
it's probably not a very hard check. So,
I assist with diplomacy.
all right.
yeah.
Feel free to give it a roll war, and whatever you roll, take half and add it to May's roll.
Yeah.
14, so 7. Nice. All right. Not the best, but still not bad.
For comedy, I shall also assist.
Yes.
Let's see what you got.
31.
31. All right. As
Yeah. So,
Plus 22, so you may got a 42 diplomacy check.
As you kind of mention this, many of them kind of take the hint, catching not that you're trying to imply it to give the stronger, just for the fact of being trying to play a bit of a prank or trying to get your cousin to try this. More of them seem to take it as you implying that your cousin's very wealthy member of this company and that he has the money to buy the best versions of these goods.
yeah.
There's a slight light bulb on, as many of them are thinking that, oh, your cousin comes from money. Oh, okay, then he'd be interested in these higher products. Okay. And
Yeah,
that is
yeah,
how
but-
May invented the telemarketer.
Yeah. And I know that Rolliman and May don't have any beef whatsoever. In fact, May kind of thinks fondly of Rolliman, but she's also in her mischievous scamp mode because we're in disguise in a new land and we have free reign to do what we want. And this is the most I can do under supervision. So,
As Crump follows you strictly behind, watching everything. But as you lot continue on, kind of heading out of the market, as you do see, so there is the crafts building itself that seems to be, as you get closer towards it and pass by it, looks to be a simple building. Overall, large open windows that kind of don't have any glass and just seem to billow with the wind. A massive individual seems to be walking around inside there, but as you look kind of in the windows, you can see some beautiful artistic pieces of arms and armor. There are weapons that have both what you call the noble artistic design to be showed off, but yet as you kind of take a second to look at them, being adventurers yourself and being accustomed to handling weapons and gear at this point, you recognize the masterwork value of these items and see how they are combat capable. And each item looks to be unique in its own design, materials, and creation. As kind of looking about, you do start to notice the larger individual seems to kind of be looking out the window over towards you a lot. Out behind their shop, you can even you can start to hear the bit of steam kind of billowing behind as it seems to plume up almost immediately, hitting the skies and clouds as you see this water jettison up and then come back down.
very
I
cool.
believe I went to go in there.
As Crump nods to that and looks at the other two and goes, all right, let's go check out this. Let's see if we can make some interest. Maybe we'll find something of my family's there. As Crump kind of eyes one of the items greedily, and you can see the money, almost the gemstones in his eyes basically appearing.
I walk in and go straight to the person I see that I believe works there.
Yeah, as a lot of you head through the door, it opens. The bell above, kind of a bronze bell, seems to give a deep, kind of dinging sound as it bellows, announcing your entry. Um, a tall, roughly 18 foot in height, and near roughly 7,000 pound, old-looking crystal giant in full merchant attire. There we go. As that seems to glow and glimmer with these bright blues and purples. A thick tie around his neck. What looks to be fine silks made into it. His hands covered in what look to be thick gloves made of the finest wool from what you recognize as a rock heap itself. One of the rarest and most valuable creatures in the world for their abilities to reproduce minerals from their wool. As he kind of looks over all across his shelf, you can see the clear signs of different items that are all unique. No one the same, no materials used in the same way. Each shield, armor set, sword, hammer, all in different shapes and sizes, all of them seemingly beautiful as he looks over, his old face kind of glimmering in the light of his forge that seems to be powered by the steam and heat of a something out back as you kind of take a second, assuming as you see the pipes to be some sort of geyser based on what you saw outside. He kind of looks up at Wara as you walk in. Wara excitedly walking in ahead of everyone as the old man kind of stops what he was doing, a hammer in hand as he sets it aside as well as his glowing shield that he was working on, and looks up and goes, in giant, "Huh, haven't seen a mountain giant that short in years. What's your name, good fella?"
I look at him quizzically. I apologize. I do not understand what you are saying.
He kind of speaks in common and goes, "Oh, you must be a half-breed. That's understandable. Your parents didn't teach you the old language. I get mercenaries through here all the time."
My name is Wara, and I come looking for better armor and shield than I currently have.
Well, Wara and company as he looks behind you.
This
Iron.
is Floorsnap, this is May, and this is Crump, as I point them out.
My adopted nephew, I am Lord Hamburglar.
My
Yeah.
apologies, Uncle, for not using your proper title.
It's all right.
you know
We're
me.
just out and about. It's more polite this way.
Oi, and please,
I like to
again,
use your nickname.
it's Mina. For me.
Crump just looks down at himself, looks up, and shrugs, and you can see the clear realization, no one's gonna be able to tell this is him.
Oh, and that's our friend Crotch.
He just looks over at you and gives you the dirtiest glare. As Crump just looks up and goes, and nods as he keeps his mouth shut and not saying anything with a sigh and a droopy face. The old man kind of nods at that and goes, Ironheart Merchant Company coming through to see my wares. I was wondering when James would send his people my way.
Oi.
Yeah, I make unique arms and armor. You've come to the right place, young man. Wara was it?
I've long been searching for better armor and a better shield, as I show the shield with the spider bite in it.
Well, I have a rule about all of the items I make. If you are interested in having me commissioned for some items, everything I make you must hunt and kill. You must gather the materials for, and in exchange, the creatures that you bring back, I knock the price off the item. You could end up getting paid for me making the item for you, or you can end up having to pay an exorbitant amount. I make no promises the item will be of the highest quality, because the materials you bring me are what the item will be based off of.
What do you consider an exorbitant amount?
My last customer came in here and didn't have the money to pay it off. I think the item price we negotiated down to was around 200 million gold pieces.
Okay.
Doesn't seem like that much, I say as I shrug.
As I look at my 512,000 gold pieces going, I'm going to be doing some hunting.
If you need a number of creatures, I'm happy to give recommendations, of course, but otherwise I recommend you accommodating yourself in our wilds.
What's the biggest,
We'll most likely
nastiest
be doing
creature in this
hunting, but
area?
so my armor is.
You kind of hearing May say that. It kind of looks over at May as War kind of starts speaking, kind of looks about and goes, young lady, to answer your question, right now, I'd imagine, well, probably one of the beasties out in the forest that we've been trying to bring by. There's a giant bear, white hair, casting capabilities. Seem to have a bit of red tip fur to it. Some weird things carved into its skin. Maybe what I'd assume be the strongest amongst the territory, depending on what you're needing. But strength comes based on what you're wanting, as he looks back over at Wara.
My armor is Lamellar currently, total defense of 7, and I have a heavy wooden shield, total defense of what it used to be was 3, but now is 2, and I'm looking for better items.
Yeah, looks over at Floor Snap and kind of like does a little like finger winding as like to mark Wara as like crazy, to imply Wara is crazy or hit his head.
I just kind of nod and just like kind of like under like like pitch whisper, and it's like, unfortunately suffered a bit of head trauma. It's what stunted his growth as much.
Nods at that, looks over at Warren and goes, I don't know about these numbers, but if you're looking for Lamellar, I can do better than what you've got on. Kind of walks over to you, and as he stands up, his 18-foot tall frame dominating the building, as he is not a small individual. He is as wide as he is big. As he kind of walks over and looks at you, are inspecting you up and down as he walks around you, and looks at you in the eyes for a minute and goes, oh, so that's what you look like. Interesting. Yes, I should be able to do better armor than this. And a shield, if you prefer this kind of shield, I can maintain it, upgrade it, of course. Or I can make something new and unique. If you have an interest in such like a tower shield or something of the sort, of course.
Something of the same size would work for me. This is just a heavy wooden shield.
He nods and goes, I can do that. Tell you what, if you're in town for a few days, do some hunting while you're here in the wilds, or go and buy ingredients in the market, though they'll charge you an arm and a leg for it. Literally.
Understood, but if you could give me a simple list of everything that I would be able to hunt or find, I'd be more than happy to do my damnedest to find it.
Are you planning to stop by Bluey's Rest?
I look over at the others. I don't know. Are we?
I think so.
I give a shrug.
I think it was on the itinerary for interesting deals, sort of local odysseys, that sort of thing.
Oh, good. There's 2 quests up on the board that pay near 500,000 gold pieces for their completion. I imagine the creatures involved are worth the payment or more, given my experience with hunters, and they're lacking in ability when they're spooked. I'd recommend starting there for what creatures you want to hunt. I can't offer you much else other than common monsters creatures nearby, and I don't think those would be what you're looking for, given the kind of warrior you are and the capabilities you're up to.
Okay. On a side note, do you happen to have a bag of holding?
I do, actually, he nods and goes, I sell a few versions. We've got I've got boar sack, fire boar sack, mimic sack, and then I have a more common one of just common leather. It's patched work of a couple of mismatched pieces, the here's and there's of what we don't use.
I'm looking for something that would be able to carry our quarry.
Ooh, we're talking something big then. You're not looking for a bag of holding. I have a hunter's bag. It's a similar material, but they're designed only to take organic materials. It works like a lesser preserving, but The only ill effect is that the preserving is at half speed, so it's not a full. We don't have the, unfortunately, capabilities to make something of the sort, but I could sell you something that can manage up to 20,000 pounds for, let's say, 50 grand?
50,000 gold? Okay. Deal.
The creatures around here are quite large, as he kind of like leans down behind his shelf and pulls it out and goes, "This is a little byproduct of the town. I will say, this isn't something I make personally, but I pick these up from local merchants that pass through. So if there's any issues with it, don't give me too many issues." Out of character, for your note, Wara, it's basically a Type 4 bag of holding, but instead, this thing can hold up to 20,000 pounds worth of weight. Cubic limit, there isn't really one. It's a weight bag. Basically, this thing will adjust and then shrink itself back down to a carryable size for you. So, it's got a nice magical property to it. I'll give you a more specific if you need it later. But roughly, bag of holding, just more weight. And size to you. So you can actually lift it. But in character, as he kind of looks about the rest of you lot, and kind of smiles, he hands it over to War, taking the coin from him. He goes, "Is there anything else I can help the Ironheart Merchant Company with, or?"
Why, you make metal goods, right?
Like, unique goods, yes?
Well, we're kind of here in on business and a bit of tourism, but
Yes.
our our most esteemed leader of the company is going to be stopping by at some point in the not too distant future. I hear he's about a month out. There may be a celebration in Stowe. Depending on what's happened, we haven't received any news yet, but by the time he gets here, I think we would be expecting a celebration. And unique metal crafts, or crafts in general, are kind of our thing. You know, we appreciate them greatly, or at least I gesture towards Lord Hamburglar.
Yes, and Crump is good at forging. He's not creative.
Yeah. So I was wondering, with the understanding that James would, and the Ironheart Merchant Company will comp you on this, it might be wise to start a celebration. Well, not start a celebration, but start working on something for a large scale celebration, like a party favor. Something to really lift the mood and go with the flow. And then maybe we can all even work out a deal where you work with the Ironheart Merchant Company, like they invest in you and stuff like that.
Making me a bluff check. However, I will say Crump will help you with this one, because his bluff is insane, and he can actually assist with this.
Can I assist as well?
Sure, if you want. There's a 38. I'm not doing the math to half that. No, I'll leave that to Floor Snap.
I did really bad on my roll, but I still got a 13.
+6.
No worries. All right, so Jesus.
+6 plus.
As the team kind of all comes together onto this, nodding along.
Oh
agreeing.
my god.
+23 total.
Yeah.
Jesus.
And I have a +9 resting, so.
All right, let's see what you got. Oh my god! All right, as you kind of do this, I will say normally I'll limit after this session to one helper per, but this is funny. As you lot continue or kind of all get in on this, hoping May can explain this and buy into it. The guy kind of nods along with it, seeing the legitimacy amongst you, and kind of gets it and kind of goes, "Oh. Oh, okay. He seems to kind of nod and goes, "Oh, he expects a bribe to be. That makes sense. I mean, he is a world thing. I mean, I wouldn't mind getting some of my goods on the world stage. All right, I can work up something. I've got an idea of something.
Excellent.
Okay.
If
I've
you're
got some.
flattering me, Oh no, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, he goes, I've got some death ore, I think, laying in the back that I've been dying to work with. That'd be interesting to see if I could make something for him.
Oi.
Excellent. While we're in the conversation, I have had a bit of a war trophy that's mostly languished. It's not been properly worked. And honestly, the person, the beast I took it from wasn't using it properly. It feels. I just kind of like plop the fucking dragon bone club onto the table.
Kind of whistles at that, looking it over, and goes and smiles in appreciation.
I was wondering if you might be able to work it into something a little less ordinary.
He nods and goes, what are you thinking?
Well, and I like demonstrate like my powers of telekinesis and like how I wield it.
Tom watches that and goes, okay, I understand. So, you're a sorcerer of some sort, and you're looking for something you can basically... I could turn into a set of daggers.
Oh no, the bigger it is, the better. Honestly, and I kind of like point imagine it as like a display piece or something that's like an idiotically like large like hammer or something. Just kind of like pick it up and like move it around like and just kind of woof, woof, woof.
As you do so, he kind of nods as he sees the display and goes, you are wanting something with as many damages to it as possible. Something to slash, pierce, bludgeon. Okay.
Oi.
I can do that.
What a sickle.
Yeah, the bigger it is, honestly, the better it is.
I could do a sickle. Actually, that would be actually quite easy with the amount of material here. I could mix... If you could get me some metal to work with, I could probably do something of a sickle. We are telekinetically inclined. I can give something to improve that ability. I've got some materials here, but I'll need some a little bit more ore for it. If you take up any quests and find any fancy gemstones or magical rocks of sorts, bring them by. I think I can make you something interesting with it.
Just kind of like give him a wide smile and nod.
For the time being, if you don't have any dragon scales to include with it, I'll I can work on this overnight. I can temporarily make it to a claymore of sorts. But if you're thinking more scythe-like, I think it'd be better to get some better metals that would be really a little bit more sharp and interesting. You see as he seems very kind of like deep in thought as he looks down at it.
We'll see what I can get a hold of. As I message the DM real fast.
Yeah, feel free. Actually, we're going to take a quick 5-minute, or let's say a 10-minute break for those who need to feed cats, run to the restroom, or grab water, or all of above. We will see you all in a moment.
I'm fine with making James's merchant company look fucking rude as hell.
And that's the first thing that comes back to. That was perfect timing. Alright, now we return back as the party, or as we stand back in front of Beta's Best Crafts inside the shop, talking to the elderly crystal giant as he kind of towers over, looking at the bone club, and kind of nodding appreciatively at Floorsnap after mentioning that.
Yeah, I just like kind of like give like my wizardly beard like a stroke at the mention of dragon scales for like trying to like emphasize it. And was like, sorry, one moment. I need to go fetch something. I'll be right back. Maya, could you assist me with my elderly, gettings about and all that?
Alrighty. I'll help Lord Hamburglar.
Yeah, I just like kind of like duck into like an alley and just like motion for like May to like to invisible us.
Yeah, as the two of you heading out of the door, kind of ducking around the side of the building, where not many people are sitting, as War kind of stands and looking at the items, and admiring the different materials and stuff of the unique goods that are on display.
Before Crump can catch up to us, I boop both of us and we're invisible now. Literally.
As Crump looks out and as you turn invisible as he looks around, I have bad news for you. I have an item that gives me true sight now. I am looking straight over towards you as Crump looks over at you as he smiles at you lot, seeing nothing going on.
He
Just kind of
like, looks up, like hiking his wizard robe up and getting butt ass naked.
As he sees this with May and just kind of looks at the two, he takes a second, nods, and gives Floor Snap a thumbs up as he seems to almost interpret this as some sort of outdoor quickie, and Floor Snap's got some weird interest as Crump turns back, covering his eyes, and heads inside the building, looks over at Wara and just goes, Wara, I have the greatest slong, but even I would not do what is going on out there.
You have the greatest song? What does that have to do with what's going on outside?
Kind of just, like, his head dips a little bit and just kind of like puts his hand on his face and he kind of shrugs as he goes, Floor Snap is singing to May the Lord Hamburglar is singing to Mire out there.
Okay.
Let's look at their goods. That looks interesting on the top shelf there, as he points to the back of the building to turn the guy's attention away from that side of the building.
It does look like a fantastic weapon. It's just, do you really think I could use something that large?
Why don't you go why don't you go look and see if you can wield it? As he kind of like ushers you over there. As we pop over
I look at the merchant and I go, do you mind if I attempt?
He kind of looks up at you or looks down at you, goes and looks over to this large hammer and kind of pulls it off the shelf. A large boar skull on the front of it, with what looks to be some sort of design of some runes and infernal kind of written into it. So he hands it over to you, or kind of just shrugs his shoulders and goes, "You can break anything in the shop. I'll pay for it."
I try and wield the weapon, not swinging it around to break anything, but just to see if I could.
Give me a base attack, just a d20 plus base attack.
Plus my strength?
Yes.
Alright.
Let's see how this goes real quick. Oh, that's a 179? Jesus Christ.
I rolled a 1d209.
I see. Sadism has suddenly blessed Wara.
He just kicks his own ass.
Yeah, right? 24.
There you go, 24.
As Wara begins to put on a masterful display for the shopkeep and for Crump as he takes the hammer and starts like wielding, testing it out, smacking against the desk to see, watching the desk take the punishment without issue. We're going to jump over real quick to May and Floor Snap as the beauty of Wara's combat display really comes into fruition as he gets into the groove. May and Floor Snap, as you find yourselves invisible, seeing Crump kind of just put a hand over his eyes as he walks away. Not really necessarily knowing exactly what was on his mind, but not taking too much to really figure it out. As you look over, with the two of you now invisible, what's the plan, Floor Snap?
Alright. Time to help me remove some scales.
Oh, alright. I grow my claws out, and they begin to drip with eldritch energy.
Okay.
Just kind of like turned my back. It's like, oh, whenever you're ready.
I assume Floor Snap is not resistant to force damage, right?
No, I'm not a ridiculous epic level creature.
Okay, cool. I start cleansing Floor Snap.
Alright, how many scales are you giving up, Floor Snap?
How many does he need for this to work?
The club's large?
Technically gargantuan.
Oh, well, how big are you?
He's a large creature.
So, two of you.
Well, like, it's not like because it's an item, it's not like the size of an actual creature.
So the way I'd look at it is roughly, it depends on how you want it applied. If you're wanting more of these scales put around this to make the item more magical, the more scales the better is basically the perspective. However, if you're also planning to combine a metal as you guys go out and kind of do some hunting and investigating around town through the next couple days, you don't really need a ton, maybe like 10 maximum to really get the effect. Probably 5 to be honest, if he's actually as good as he speaks.
I say we just go full broke because it's funnier.
You just want to denudify me of
You know,
scales.
Floorsnap's gonna be bald.
I already am bald. I've
Just-
got a fire kind of peacock feather thing.
Oh yeah, I mean, you got your beard.
Yeah,
I
the beard
just,
isn't scales.
That's true.
I just think it would be funny for Crump to put two and two together and realize that I skinned you, and for him to continue with his current thought of what we were doing and be completely mortified. Like
That's some
comfort.
that's some BDSM that he was not prepared to see. But no, as you what are we thinking for how many scales you want to pull out?
All right.
In short, I want to do a d6 of wisdom damage to him, even though he's immune to ability damage.
Oh god.
So if like cards on the table, what actually is going to happen if I just say like fuck it, go for broke, take all of them?
Do you have any resistances that you get from being with this feat? Like any like acid resistance for being black scaled?
Nope. Also, would technically be blue because.
Well, that's what I was just saying as an example because I couldn't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, no, I didn't. I
if
don't
you're
have
doing
anything from it.
Then literally, unless does it give a natural armor bonus?
Nope. The only natural armor
Then
bonus.
the only thing it's going to do is make you look like a blue slimy frog. You are just going to go back to looking like your normal slutty form for about 100 or so years.
It's like a summer vacation.
Yeah, in a sense, you're molting your skin.
I just look like I took a skin treatment.
Mm-hmm. It's no longer bumpy and hard. It's now like soft and slimy.
Just kind of like shrug and say, "Well, I think it's been a few millennia. Go for broke."
All right.
All right.
Let's do the force damage to see how easy this goes and how many you get out in one pull.
Okay.
Floor snap. Let's get a fortitude save just to see if you can maintain consciousness, because this isn't gonna be fun. It's not gonna hurt as you feel these things being plucked out of your skin.
The first d6 is my regular claw damage. The second 3d6 is the force damage.
Okay. Oh, okay.
I rolled really fucking low.
Well, good news. Floor snap overcame the damage. So floor snap, like getting a tattoo, it hurts at first, but your body heat quickly goes numb. As you begin to just kind of feel your skin, just kind of feeling it's being pulled a little bit every few seconds, and a couple of them catch, a couple of them hitch, and it hurts a little bit, causes a little bit of bleeding. You do take you will take the full 7 damage, but really that's about it for as May gets through it. It's not comfortable, it's not fun, but most of your body feels numb afterwards.
Just like a very weird all over itch.
Yes, and thankfully you managed to bite your tongue and not scream at any point from the pain.
Oh
Gotta,
man,
like,
could
shake
you
myself
imagine
off.
him accidentally screaming and fucking slotty?
Yep, and as you kind of finish this up in the background, Wara, we're gonna jump over to you once more with Crump as Crump kind of looks over at you for a second and goes, as you finish up your display of arms, and goes, I'm gonna go check on those two real quick. I think it's been a bit of a moment. They should have been back from the ship by now.
Okay, I'll be here.
He nods.
As I hand the weapon back.
Yeah, you see him kind of stop. Crump kind of stops and goes, "Wait a minute. Actually, Wara, why don't you go and check on them?"
Okay. As I still hand the weapon back.
Yeah, the shopkeep kind of takes the weapon and puts it back on the shelf, quite impressed with your display.
I go outside.
As you step outside, Crump kind of directs you to around the building where he had seen them last, and goes, and as he kind of like taps you, your eyes start to glimmer as you gain true sight. Or true
and
seeing.
I start saying, Uncle, where are you?
When you round the corner, you see me like basically with one foot on floor snap, pushing him away, and then I've got two hands on what appears to be his skin, and I'm just shucking the skin off of him, and something probably vaguely suggestive.
As you see a pile, yeah, as Floor Snap says this, as you see the black scales just kind of piled up on the side of them. Or blue, sorry.
I
Goddamn.
don't want to know. I just, as I turn around, walk away. I don't want
I don't get why everyone's freaked out about this. I don't even have a penis.
to. It's not that. It's, yeah, whatever.
As Water turns back, says this, and then pokes his head back around the corner, leaving.
No. I don't leave. I go right around the corner, lean against the wall, and I'm talking to them,
Uh-huh.
facing away.
Okay, got you.
Just-
Giving them privacy. I got you.
I don't want to know what you guys are doing. Just how much longer Crotch is waiting for you two.
Yep. Hey, how much longer? I kind of am not in control of that situation.
As Floorsnap feels the last scale give way as May kind of pulls it off. As you look over, seeing the pile of almost about 50 or 60 so scales that are just kind of piled up there. They're thick, almost like small dinner plates. As you look at them, glimmering in their shining blue color. As they kind of lay there, a couple of them dribbled with a bit of black slotty blood, but otherwise nothing seemingly about them untainted. No scarring, no markings against them. Perfectly clear.
Oh, good.
But as you finish up, kind of standing up, the three of you, I assume, heading back into the shop with the now roughly 60 blue scales.
Yeah, I just like pause and wait for like May to drop the invisibility and polymorph me back into Lord Hamburglar.
I'll polymorph us first,
Uh-huh.
and then drop the invisibility.
As you do so, as you both come around the corner, Floorsnap holding a pile of his scales as he does. Wara, you see as they come back around, fully polymorph back. Your vision, though, shows them still as their original forms.
Yep.
Figures.
Because that's how true set works.
Mm-hmm.
I look at my hands. Does it make me look different now that I have true sight?
As you look down, you see your hands, and they are your hands normally. As you look down,
Also,
hair's there, everything looks fine and good.
Wara
Okay, I
actually
haven't changed.
sees
Yeah, no worries.
Wara actually sees me as my Discord picture for this server rather than the picture I have for May, because May has been constantly polymorphed to look different. So Wara can actually see me as the daughter of Vitra that I am.
The more looking like her. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the red hair, the fiery red hair, the eyes that literally look like lit candle wicks.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not surprised, as I think to myself.
Yeah.
As the three of you kind of walk around the corner, heading up back over towards the shop and heading in, Crump kind of looks over at you a lot as he's talking to the shopkeep and goes, "Oh, Lord Hamburglar, welcome back. The owner here, Dory, has been telling me all about his experiences when he was a young man. I'm glad you're back." As he looks at you with a bit of desperation in his eyes.
Oh, I'm so sorry to interrupt what must be a fascinating conversation. I trust our manservant Crotch has not been bothersome.
Dory kind of nods and appreciation and goes, "No, he's been quite sweet listening to the entirety of the story, telling a few of his own. Nice young man. Not the brightest, but, nice young man nonetheless."
Excellent. We won't have to resort to savage beatings tonight then. Good work, Crotch.
You see Scrub looks at you with a glare, and you can feel the irritation.
I hope he doesn't look too close, because if he still has true seeing, he sees that Floorsnap scales are no longer on him.
No, he's not. His true seeing is not currently active, as he seemed to have deactivated it while he's inside. Well, actually, wait, can I? Oh no, I can't. It is just active for a certain amount of time. Never mind. It is still active. Yep, it is still active as he sees the very scaleless, smooth, slimy, well, rather bumpy skin, not smooth, bumpy, slimy toad that is Floorsnap's true form. As Crump doesn't seem to react, but there is a moment of realization as his eyes glimmer.
I just like kind of like dump like the scales on the table right next to like the dragon bone, and just like there you are.
See, look,
Hopefully these should spark a measure of inspiration.
Dory kind of looks down at them and goes, "A young adult blue dragon? Huh. I haven't seen one of these in a while. Not many people willing to take them on when their plates are this fresh. Oh, and they're warm, too. What's the, black, material on here? I'm not familiar." As he kind of pokes your blood on them and kind of looks over at you.
I just kind of like give like he's like trying my best to hide like a sinister smile and say, "Oh, it's not really a blue dragon. It was some kind of a mutant. We had it in a special preservation sack. One use only kind of a thing. It was an emergency hit.
It's a trade secret liquid for our company, if you don't mind.
I would be very, very cautious about that liquid." And I just gotta like waver it off like the table before it can like turn into a snake.
As you do so, he kind of looks at you and looks over. Give me a bluff check, Wara. Go ahead and give the assistance.
To be fair, I'm telling the truth.
No, I know, but still, it's technically it's still a bluff. 22. All right. See if Wara can manage to do something decent with his roll.
So the total with the assist is 32. A 20 flat.
Okay. All right. As you say this, he kind of nods along to it and goes, "Interesting. I can't make the blade out of the scales. I'd need something metallic, but if you don't have any metals in mind, I can see if I can dig around my shop. I'll charge you for whatever I have that kind of fits the materials. In a few days, I think I can put something together of this."
Well, we could still get the metals together. I just thought, well, we might as well use the scales while they're still good.
He nods and kind of looks at you and goes, "Well, scales don't go bad."
I just like give like a small bow. I was like, "My mistake. I'm not much of a craftsman myself."
Ah, business end of the Ironheart Merchant Company. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense.
Of course.
Well, I mean, if that's the case, then I think I can put something together. If you bring me some metal, we can see what we can put for the blade, but the rest of it, I think I'd put a week down. It shouldn't take me much longer than that.
Excellent. Also, this mutant sort of dragon seemed to have telekinetic properties as well.
He nods.
Feel free to use it to embellish that portion of it if you wish. It's one of the reasons I was interested.
I will see what I can do. I haven't worked with a dragon that specialized, but if this blood is a remainder of the beast, I should be able to mix it in. As he kind of looks at the scales and like you see there's definitely some cogs turning in his head as he looks at the blood kind of on the floor. He goes, "Okay."
Again, be very careful what comes into contact with blood.
He nods at that and goes, "Fine. If you can bring me metal, I'll start the work. I can have this ready to go and mount a blade to it. I think this will make an interesting craft. You said scythe was fine?"
Oh yes, I should be fine.
Okay. He nods and goes, "By the time I'm done with it, you'll be known as a butcher in Aminia Nations, I imagine, when you get a hold of it."
Oh, truly a reputation I hope to one day achieve. I just like turn to the camera and smile.
He kind of nods at that and goes, if only I could be working on one of those Cryptic Kabal fellows' items. Those are the type of people you want to get a weapon with. They are the ones who get known all over the world for their stuff. But
I'm sure you'll have your chance.
One day." He nods and looks over at Wara and goes, "From you, Wara, bring me back some leather for the armor. For the shield, some wood from the trees if you can. Find yourself a big, hardy tree and make sure it's something you can stand against. Beyond that, some leather to put across it and some metals. Any metal you bring back, I'll add to the materials and we'll see what I can make of it."
Wood and leather and metal. Got it. Thank you, sir.
He nods and goes, if you're not much good for cutting up beasts, just bring the beast. I'll do the cutting down, and I'll keep the meat as payment.
As long as I can have one piece of steak from that meat, because I'm always in the mood for a steak.
He nods and kind of holds his hand out to shake your hand for the deal.
Can I have
shake
a
it.
tart?
Kind of shakes Suara's hand as he hears me say that. Kind of looks over it and goes, I see no reason why not, Mire.
Excellent.
Alright, well, if you lot need anything else, feel free to come by. I'll start working on this as I finish up my current crafts. I've got some ideas, some materials I'll gather around, and I'll start drawing up some plans for the items for your friend. If you have any other members of your group that are in town looking for items, feel free to send them my way.
Well, absolutely
We
will.
will.
He nods and smiles at that as you lot kind of turn and head outside, or head out the door and head back into the market square.
And I lean over to Crump at this point now. If any of the guys on the ship need weapons, they should come to this guy.
Crump leans over to you and goes, I know, I have ears.
Good. I'm reminding you, and I'm telling you that I'm actually learning to collect information.
I worry about the fact that you're one of our most capable crew member.
I know. I'm gonna
I
lean over to
blush at that.
Crotch. I'm gonna lean over to Crotch and I'm gonna say, "Oi, you think we can?" I look at the smithy. You think we can make it to where our crew members get a bunch of weapons for free, and the Ironheart Merchant Company has to pay for it?
Thinks for a second as he kind of rubs his chin a little bit and goes, I think I could if the captain gave the order. I don't see why not.
Alrighty.
As long as we've got the... Actually, in fact, Floorstep, when we get back to the crew, I have an idea. Give me your symbol for the Ironheart Merchant Company. I'm gonna make an insignia sigil.
Just kind of like nod.
We'll need it to be a wax official sign. I'll also need a polymorph spell to change me into this James fella that you were mentioning. If he runs everything there, from what I understand, then if I look like him and they cast something on the item to identify who was signing it, they see me, well, I can fake the signature. Should all work out. But, as he looks at May and goes, only if the captain gives the order.
Alrighty.
I want to do that on our way out. We did state that he would be here within like a month or so. It would look rather odd to talk out of one corner of our mouth and then immediately get caught.
Alright.
As you kind of look about the market, though, as you walk about, finding your way over towards the other building that's kind of left on the square that caught your attention, seeing the both the guild itself and the inn and tavern, and heading over, seeing the sign outside that says Blue Ye's Rest and Break Guild. You can see inside what looks to be a pretty large-looking, raven-haired, crystal giant female, kind of standing up. Her back is very well muscled, almost looking like she has been a lumberjack for the last 20 or so years. The building itself, as you walk in, is a little bit more decrepit, a little bit more broken down, but the inside is very warm. The giants in there seem to be enjoying themselves. Some other adventurers seem to kind of be sitting about, kind of sipping what looks to be the local liquor as they kind of relax out of what looks to be small creature skulls for the glasses. The guild has a wall full of just quests kind of posted up, freely open for anyone to take what looks to be a little marker, and as you look over, has a notice board to check in with the front desk when taking a quest. Otherwise, within, you kind of see, it looks like it has two doorways that go into the back where both the kitchen and the further of the inn's rooms are, and then the tower to the side that seems to kind of have its own doorway, where a few more well-looking guests kind of seem to be kind of coming in and out of as they go about their business. As you kind of come in and find yourself to a table, the what looks to be the owner kind of walks over and stands stands over you lot and smiles as she goes, "My name's Blueye. I represent the Bluey's Rest and Break Guild. We house the greatest chefs on the continent, and of course have the honor of serving the Apex Surprise for those who are interested. It's 1 gold piece a plate, but I promise you will not find a better meal."
Oh, you said the best chefs on the continent.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Could I possibly get a wee bit of a crash course from one of their apprentices? I'm not gonna presume I could get an actual master to teach me, but I would like to learn a little bit of cooking.
Oh,
It might help the Ironheart Merchant Company out a little bit, and maybe we could throw you some coin your way when James arrives in town.
she kind of nods at that and goes, "I see no reason why not. I'd be happy to take you in when you've got some free time and introduce you to my father. He does run the back. Him and my mother, she does most of the cooking. He observes a lot of it. But if you'd like to, yes, we'd be happy to have you back. I will have to have you sign some documents to go back there. I hope you understand there are some recipe trade secrets and such that we like to keep. But if you're looking to learn how to cook apex monsters and monsters of great magical power, we would be happy to teach you. It's a rare skill amongst adventurers these days, so it's always happy to
Absolutely.
pass it on."
I hear there's a great interest in soup making.
Leah nods at that and smiles and goes, "Oh, we have a fine soup that we offer. It is from an elder ent that he has been captured and put into service down beneath the city. He is a jolly old fella, a little bit grumbly when it comes to the young people, but he offers a sweet sap that tastes very great, and we add some leaves to it to really give the soup its full flavor. It is fantastic, and it'll put 10 pounds on you in a day."
Force that mildly panics and then realizes she's not describing him.
I think about this for a long moment, and I say, you got anything? I kind of like trace my jaw as I think about this meteor stews. Kind of like wince a little bit at the word, because like I still look like a primitive, and I'm gonna milk that for all it's worth to get some good eats that include meats.
She kind of nods at that and goes, "Ah, we can provide you with something more to the local cuisine that your people are expected of. I believe we have a group of adventurers that recently passed away. I'll see if their bodies are still fresh enough to chop up and cook."
Alrighty. If any of them happen to be magic-y sorts, their hearts are very valuable.
She nods at that and goes, "I will see if my father can come up with a culturally respective recipe. I think we still have a cookbook from an old chieftain that had come through here a long time ago. I'll see if we can dig it out for you."
And if you don't want to give up any of your recipes, that chieftain's cookbook, if you can teach me from that. I don't want to impose upon your copyright.
She nods and smiles at that, not really understanding what you're meaning from that. As she kind of looks at you, goes, I can definitely. We can see if we can't come up with something for that. I still think it wouldn't hurt for you to learn some of the skills of mana-dense foods. They're a lot more poisonous than most people expect."
Fair enough.
She
I
kind of
just think back to the slot.
Yeah, exactly. She kind of looks over at Floorsnap and goes, as she smiles, and goes, "And for you, what would you care for?"
I would love an apex surprise. Also, my giant isn't great. Does Bouye stand for gorgeous and giant?
She kind of smiles at that. Give me a diplomacy check.
Kabal Riz, don't fail me now. 36.
It's funny to point out that, but like right now, Floor Snap
Mhm.
does have parts.
Yep, he looks like a Snowbeard too. She kind of smiles at that and blushes a little bit as her cheeks turn a little red. And she goes, "No, it stands for Blood Maiden. My family's used to be known for cutting down many creatures in our homeland before we descended from the clouds. And then after that, we decided to go into the cooking business.
Hmm.
But I do appreciate the compliment. You don't get to eat for free though. I do hope you understand."
I wouldn't insult you by thinking that a great meal comes for free. That's not how the world works.
She
Parts
smiles.
to be appreciated.
She nods to that and kind of puts a note, writing down something on what looks to be a piece of papyrus as she kind of notes down for the order and looks over, kind of smiles politely and looks over at Warren and goes, "And you, sir?"
I would like to have the Apex Surprise and the recommended drink that goes with it, as I put 2 gold pieces on the table, and requesting that the drink keeps flowing as I'm eating.
She nods at that and smiles and kind of picks up the coin as she pockets it quickly, and she goes, "All right, a tiger surprise and 1 apex surprise, understandable. I'll make sure to have that out right for you in a moment." As she collects the other gold pieces from you lot and kind of walks away.
Yeah.
As she leaves you alone for a minute, as you kind of see, the tavern's quiet. There's a couple that are in here that are locals that seem to be enjoying themselves into quiet conversation. I imagine immediately one of you is jumping up to the quest board to go check out what's up on there. Crump, funny enough, Crump doesn't have a coin purse.
Damn it, I was hoping for the
Good
guy.
try, though. Good try. He has a bag of holding, or a bag of coining he keeps.
Ah.
But as you kind of walk over towards it... Oh, no, here, I don't have Discord Nitro. Give me a minute. I'll have to cut this in half. There's the first half. As you kind of take a second looking over some of the quests, give it a moment to read over them as you kind of look through everything. It takes a little bit, but as time goes on, the lady comes back and kind of sets down what looks to be a couple of chunks of very thick meat on a bone, grilled and seemingly garnished with this a couple of different items that look like tubers for the most part that seem to come in a variation of colors overall, as well as a good amount of those skirrets you'd seen outside and some of the Alexander that Florsnap had reacted harshly to. As she serves this to a lot of you, she kind of sets in front of May what looks to be a stew, kind of thick with a deep blue gravy. What looks to be a red beating heart, slightly still trying to pump a bit inside the stew. What looks to be a couple of other smaller ones kind of surrounded by it that are a little bit more bluish in coloration and crunchier looking as you kind of look at them, May. Not recognizing this organ from prior. As she kind of sets down, lastly, the liquid of what when described as tiger's blood, wasn't a joke. It looks like a thick red, sauce-like material. As you take a sip of it, Wara, it's like a thick cherry honey mead, but as you taste the alcohol at 75% alcohol, you begin to feel the dwarven kick from it almost immediately. And by dwarven, I mean giant kick to it. Give me a fortitude save. As this stuff will peel paint if you use it right. Yeah, the mug shaped in the size of a skull. 23. Wara, it is exhilaratingly burning and it is strong. One sip and you feel that pleasant drunkenness come over you as the happiness begins to come out. The warmth of your body and the liquid taking full force. You are slightly tipsy.
If the food arrives,
Yes.
I'm gonna ask for this to be slightly diluted.
As you kind of look up at her after taking a sip, as she stands over you, as you start to take a couple bites, she kind of smiles as you look up and say this, and she goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, I did dilute that. That's the children's version. I thought, you know what? Here, I'll see if I can get you something a little weaker."
make it a goblin child version?
I think I understand.
I just look at my nephew in abject disappointment.
She kind of walks away a few moments later, comes back with what looks to be this blue water, and kind of pours half of the thick liquid into it, and then pours half the water back in, or the liquid back in, and mixes it a little bit, and then she sets it down and goes, "That should give you a better chance."
Thank you. And then I look at Uncle and go, you have to remember, I've not been allowed to drink on the ship for many weeks, months at a time. My tolerance has gone down.
You'll have to make up for it later.
Yes, I will.
And she kind of
Happily.
nods and smiles and walks away as Crump comes out, kind of walking over with a thick vial of the same liquid in one hand and a plate full of what looks to be a giant fish in the other. And kind of sits down on the table and smiles as he takes a sip. As he drinks the red liquid, immediately I'm going to make him also do a fortitude save. Now, I want you to know, this guy has a oh my god. Well, you didn't roll high enough, but as he takes a sip, you watch as Crump smiles over all three of you and kind of like cheers us up, takes it back, and as he looks up at the ceiling, he begins to slowly tip back as he falls unconscious as the drink kind of slams to the ground.
We're unsupervised.
I just lock eyes with May the moment he passes out and just give the nod.
I nod back as well. Also, I'm gonna eat the fuck out of the soup.
Yeah.
As I see both of them do that, I'm just gonna go, fine, I'll stay here with him.
As you begin to kind of eat the food, the meat is delicious. The stew is thick with what seems to be a sweet liquid. That if you were missing any spell slots, you would regain them almost immediately. As you begin chewing down on the heart, it is sweet in its flavor and well prepared as it kind of almost falls apart in your mouth. The crunchier bits seem to be filled with some sort of liquid that as you kind of bite into it, give me a fortitude save.
Okay.
Let's see what you can get. It's not spell, it's not evil, it's not a compulsionary effect.
Okay, and it's not a death effect. Okay.
Correct. This is a bonus thing. This is just to see how much you realize you're affected.
Also, does Rolaman's species get any bonuses to fortitude saves?
No.
Okay.
23. As you kind of bite into it, what's your highest spell slot right now?
Technically, it's my
Cool.
the most powerful magic that I cast.
No, like your class spell slot, like the highest spell slot you can cast, spell you can cast for spell level. Sorry.
It would be Wave of Grief, which is a level 2 spell slot.
Okay. Spell level. Okay, got you. So you now have an open until you go to sleep. Next, you have a free 3rd level spell that you can cast.
Oh.
You may pick the spell as you wish for the spells you would know, or have ran into. But yes, you can add that as a temporary bonus until you take your next long rest.
Alrighty.
As you kind of chew into these things, feeling the crunch of them, you realize these are mana hearts. These are a special organ that certain races have, recognizing this as you kind of taste or get chewing on them. Also, as you look at the menu and see a note of mana hearts being on the menu and a picture of what you're chewing on. As you kind of tear into it, Floor Snap and Wara, the apex surprise seems to be some sort of lean beef-like meat. As you tear into it, it is sweet, succulent, and has an amazing aroma. The savoriness of the meat comes in well, and nothing about it seems to taste horrible. It even has the rare small bit of butter on it, a thing that this is the first time I believe Wara would have ever had to experience, and Floor Snap may have never experienced himself, depending on his perspective and backstory. Given that wasn't really decided whether Floor Snap was actually high end of his clan or if he was just one of the lower members. So,
Well, like our clan was like in the background, I think, for the most part. I think we were just kind of hunted. 'cause
Yeah.
we could usurp other people's towers, so
Eh,
I don't really
In the
think it
sense,
ran
yeah,
the gambit.
butter probably was not a common food for your clan at the time. And yeah, no. So this would be the first time either of you have tasted the taste of this sweet butter. It is a slightly caramelized and mixed with a lot of salt, and it is very greasy, but it seems to give a pleasant taste to the meat.
I like this.
Yeah, I'm enjoying my fucking meal.
As you
Yeah, there's
Go.
a non-zero chance that fucking Crump wakes up before I finish.
as you lot begin to enjoy your meal, kind of looking over the quests, as you get kind of find yourselves staring over at the board and reading over the information. It's around that time the doors begin to open, and that's when we see the individual you all call Captain, looking a little bewildered, a little tired, but with a plan and a devious look in his eyes. And that's where we're going to wrap today. We thank you all for watching, we hope you enjoyed, and we will see you on the next one.